Hey guys, tonight we journey into a world you think you know, but trust me, you don't. Because we're not sailing with brave explorers or noble admirals. No, tonight we're climbing aboard a creaking, rotting vessel stuffed with men who haven't bathed in weeks, who sleep beside rats, and who share their toothbrushes with the ocean spray. Tonight's story, what was hygiene like on pirate ships? But before we launch ourselves into this very smelly adventure, do me a favor if you enjoy drifting off with dark corners of history. Give this video a gentle subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what time it is where you are right now. It always makes me smile to see how far this little crew stretches across the globe. All right, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum like the ocean breeze you're about to hear in your imagination. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Let the day slip overboard. And let's slip together into tonight's story. Let's talk about pirates, not the treasure-hunting myths or movie star rogues, but real pirates. Men and a few women who lived on floating wooden coffins, far from fresh water, good food, or anything resembling cleanliness. Because the truth is, being a pirate was disgusting. The ocean was vast, but your ship tiny, crammed, loud, and full of filth. There were no bathrooms, no soap, no privacy. You did your business over the side if you were lucky. You washed in rainwater if it ever came. You shaved with a knife. Maybe, if you cared, or if you weren't too seasick to bother. Clothes rotted on your body. Teeth fell out. Hair crawled with lice. You smelled worse than the barrels of pickled fish you were living beside. And that wasn't the worst part. Because out there, far from shore with no surgeon and no safety hygiene wasn't just uncomfortable. It was life or death. A cut could fester into infection. A splinter could turn to gangrene. A rat bite could send you to your grave. And nothing smelled good. So tonight, you are not a glamorous swashbuckler. You are a deckhand. You've slept beside someone who hasn't bathed in a month. You've eaten salted pork with mold on it. You've wiped your hands on your pants and hoped the rain would come. We're going to walk through it all. The food, the teeth, the clothes, the water. The very real stench of pirate life. And by the time we're done, you might just feel grateful for your toothbrush. So buckle in, breathe deep, and let the waves carry you. Tonight's journey, what was hygiene like on pirate ships? Let's begin. You wake up with your face pressed against a damp wooden board. It smells like mildew, sweat, and something else, something sour, that might have once been food, or maybe someone's stomach gave up in the night. You're not sure. You don't want to know. You blink. There's no sunlight. Just the dim flicker of lantern glow through slats in the hull. It's loud. Snoring. Coughing. A rat scurrying overhead. Boots stomping on deck above you. Somewhere nearby, someone mutters in their sleep a language you barely understand, followed by a moist, hacking cough. You try to sit up. Your back protests. Your head knocks abeam. You wince, suck in a breath, and regret it immediately. Because the air thick. Sticky with the smells of unwashed bodies, old wood mold sweat, and the lingering stink of salt pork gone too long without brine. You swear the very wood of the ship has absorbed the stink of its crew. You are quite literally sailing in a coffin of funk. You shift on your makeshift bed. It's not a bed really, just a hammock, or a piece of cloth slung between two beams if you're lucky. or a bit of floor space beneath a cannon if you're not. The rope digs into your ribs. There's something crusted into your sleeve. You decide not to touch it. You reach for your boots. They're damp. Always are. Your socks, if you have any, are stiff with salt, maybe blood. You pull them on anyway, because walking barefoot on a deck this filthy means splinters, and splinters mean infection, and infection out here might mean death. Someone coughs again. That same rattling, gut-deep sound, you know what it means. Another one catching the ship's fever. It starts like that. Then they go pale. Then they stop eating. Then they stop moving. Then they're tossed overboard. You wipe your mouth. Your breath tastes like dried fish and rot. There's a piece of something stuck in your back molar that's been there for days. You work it loose with your fingernail, wipe it on your trouser leg. No one has brushed their teeth in weeks. You're pretty sure the ship's surgeon, if there is one, has a jar full of pulled molars and not a single toothbrush among his supplies. You climb to your feet. The floor rocks beneath you. The sea's calm, but your legs remember yesterday's storm. You duck your head under the beams. You've done it 100 times, but you still smack your forehead. You curse. Someone nearby laughs. Above deck, the day is beginning. You make your way through the lower hold, past barrels of salted meat, past crates of weevils, you mean hardtack, past puddles of standing water, past sleeping crew members, rats picking at crumbs near their boots. You climb the ladder and emerge into the gray morning light. And it hits you. The wind. The salt. The sheer, overwhelming stench of the crew. It's not that they smell worse out here. It's that everything smells worse when the sea breeze carries it. You take a deep breath. You've stopped gagging at it mostly. There are men relieving themselves over the edge of the deck. A puddle of something, maybe bilge, maybe vomit, has collected near the helm. A cook is scraping out a pot that still smells like fish stew and mold. The deckhands are already working. One has a stained bandage around his foot. Another is scratching his scalp so furiously you can see lice scatter. You nod to them. They nod back. No one talks about it. This is your world now. This floating city of grease, grime, and grog. There is no bath waiting for you, no soap, no towel. If it rains, you'll stand shirtless and hope it's enough. If it doesn't, you'll wipe your face with the inside of your shirt and call it washed. And somehow, this is normal. This is routine. You adjust your belt. You scratch your side. You kick a rat away from your gear. And you prepare for another day aboard the filthiest, most dangerous, least hygienic workplace the world has ever known. Because you're not just at sea. You're a pirate. And cleanliness, that's for people who sleep on land. You start your day with food. That's what they call it anyway. It's a gray lump hardtack. A cracker, technically. Though no cracker you've ever known comes full of weevils. You knock it twice on the rail. 3 tiny bugs fall out. You shrug. That's considered a good start. Some men eat the weevils for the protein. Others don't care. You flick yours off and break the biscuit in half with your knife. It snaps like bone. Alongside it, a strip of salted meat. It used to be pork. Now it's just hard. You suck on it more than chew it. It tastes like salt and time and despair. If you have a tooth that's loose, this is how you'll lose it. Someone offers you a sip of their grog. You take it, rum mixed with water. Sometimes lime juice if the quartermaster was feeling generous. Mostly not. The water left in barrels is already sour. It smells like old rope and feet. The rum makes it bearable. This is breakfast. No fire, no eggs, no bread. Just preservation and necessity. Your body hates it, but your stomach's grateful. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve. Now hygiene begins. If you're ambitious, if you're naive, there's no washroom, no basin, no soap unless someone stole it off a merchant ship. So you walk to the railing, lean over, splash your face with seawater. It burns your eyes, cracks your lips further, leaves a taste in your mouth that lingers like a curse. But it wakes you up. You rub your face with your hands which have held rope rats, greasy tools, dried fish wounds. You wonder how clean your face is now. You scrape your teeth with a stick, not a brush. Just a bit of wood you frayed with a knife. You scrub spit rinse with seawater. The taste of salt and blood fills your mouth. You check your gums. Swollen. Again. You've seen what scurvy does. The bleeding, the loose teeth, the swelling, the stink. You chew on a dried citrus peel you saved from last month's raid. You don't know if it helps, but it feels like a spell. Your hair is matted. You try to comb it with your fingers. You fail. It's full of knots, grease, salt, lice. You scratch. Everyone scratches. No one even blinks anymore. Clothing. You wear what you slept in, what you've worn for weeks. A shirt stiff with sweat. Trousers patched 3 times. A sash that smells like a dead animal. Boots that squelch when you walk. You wash clothes only when it rains hard enough. You dry them by wearing them. You deal with rashes, chafing, fungus. You saw a man lose 3 toes to trench foot last season. It wasn't even cold. You hope for a rainstorm, not for the crops, just for your armpits. Privacy. There is none. If you need to relieve yourself, you walk to the bow and squat. Or hang off the side and pray the sea's calm. If not, you improvise. There's a bucket sometimes. God help you if someone knocks it over. You saw a man get hit with the flat of a sword for spilling his piss near the captain's boots. That man hasn't walked straight since. And still, this is your routine. You take a moment to rinse your hands in a barrel. The water inside is already cloudy. You stare at the floating specks. Decide not to think about it. You shake your hands dry. And just like that, you're ready. Clean enough, fed enough, alive enough to start the real work. Your clothes are lying to you. They say you're a man of the sea, a rogue, a pirate. But really they're rags held together by wishful stitching and salt. You wear a shirt, once white, maybe. Now beige-gray, crusted at the collar, stiff at the elbows. It was made of linen or what's left of it. You haven't taken it off in 10 days, maybe more. It clings to your body like a second unpleasant skin. You've tried to wash it. Rainwater, a bit of scrubbing with a rope, a slap on the deck. But it's always damp, always stiff. It smells like everything you've done while wearing it. There's a sash around your waist, red frayed, stained with something brown that you don't remember getting on it. It might have once been decorative. Now it's a belt, a rag, a handkerchief, a bandage. Your trousers are wool, heavy, warm when dry, which is never. The salt makes them itch. The seams dig into your thighs. You've patched the seat with canvas from a sail. It doesn't match. You don't care. Your boots are leather. They squeak when wet. Always wet. Sometimes you sleep in them. Not because it's comfortable, because you're afraid of what might crawl inside overnight. You've heard stories. A rat, a crab, a centipede. You'd rather not test them. Over your shoulders a coat, heavy, too big. Taken off a British naval officer you met under unfortunate circumstances. It smells like gunpowder, and rum, and him. You keep it anyway. It blocks the wind, and sometimes it makes you look important enough to be left alone. You wear a hat sometimes. It keeps the sun off your eyes. It also hides your hair, which has grown wild, full of knots, salt, and things you'd rather not name. Lice are constant. You scratch. Everyone scratches. Some shave their heads. Others just accept it. You check your seams for eggs when you're bored. Pick them off. Flick them into the sea. You have a knife, a flint, a pouch with crumbs, a few coins sewn into your hem just in case you jump ship and need to start over somewhere dry. Shelter, the ship, is your home, and it's not a kind one. Below deck, it's damp, always. The boards sweat. The air sits thick like stew. There's no ventilation. Just hatches that stay open only when the weather's good, which is rare. The hammocks hang low, or the floor is shared. Some sleep sitting. Others curled near barrels. Some sleep standing during storms, braced against the mast like human knots. Privacy doesn't exist. You sleep beside men who've vomited into their shirts, who haven't changed socks since last port, who bleed into their sleeves and never speak of it. You listen to them breathe, to their nightmares, to their muttering, to their gas. You get used to it. The ship groans like an old man. The wood creaks, the ropes strain, the sails flap and snap. When it rains inside too. You sleep with your cloak over your head and pray the leak doesn't find you tonight. When it's hot, you sweat. The heat has nowhere to go. The stink builds. You can't breathe. You lie in a puddle of yourself. When it's cold, you shiver. You wrap your coat tighter. You pull your knees in. You curse the sea for being endless and the wind for having teeth. You envy land, roofs, blankets, clean socks. And yet this ship is your world. Your floating prison, your floating battlefield, your floating paycheck. Every corner smells of something. Tar, rope, grease, salt, oil, fish, fire, feet, blood, rum, vomit, wet dog, sweat, sewage, gunpowder, death. And yet there's something comforting in it. It's yours. It's all you've known for months. You could find your way back to your hammock blindfolded. You know every creak, every step, every leak, and that strange as it sounds is home. On pirate ships, daily labor and survival were a constant, gritty reality. Pirates weren't just swashbuckling rogues. They were manual laborers, sailors, and survivalists. Their daily work included manning sails, scrubbing decks, preparing meals, fixing damage from battles or storms and maintaining weapons. Duties were physically demanding and non-stop, especially when weather or enemy ships loomed. Survival at sea depended on more than just brute strength. It required coordination, strict routines, and a bit of creativity. Food had to be rationed, fresh water collected or preserved, and health maintained despite poor hygiene and cramped conditions. Rats were common. So were injuries and infections. Pirates survived through resilience, teamwork, and often harsh discipline. Life aboard wasn't romantic. It was a balance of danger, hard labor, and desperate adaptability. You spit over the side of the ship 3 times. Not because something was stuck in your teeth, but because someone just said the word Jonah. And on this ship, that's a word you don't say lightly. Because at sea, belief isn't a luxury. It's law. You might not attend church. You might not read scripture. But the ocean, this vast, unknowable, moody beast of water, makes you a believer in something. Every pirate is. Some believe in God, others in fate, others in curses, spirits, omens, and signs. Most believe in luck, and they guard it with claws. You don't whistle on deck. That invites the wind and storms. You don't count coins at sea. That invites death. You don't bring a woman aboard. That invites everything to go wrong. And if you do and something does, you'll be the first to go overboard. You've seen it happen. Superstition is serious. There are no priests aboard, no sermons. But every man has his own rituals. A necklace worn since childhood, a tattoo over the heart, a charm made of bone tucked into a boot. You've got one too, a copper coin, worth nothing in any port, but it's never left your pocket. You found it the day before your first raid. You've survived ever since, so it stays. Some of the crew pray, usually before battle, sometimes after storms, quietly, into hands stained with tar and salt. Others make offerings, tossing a crumb of bread into the sea before meals, pouring out a drop of grog before drinking, spitting into the wind to keep it kind. There's a man on board Old Mab who talks to birds. He swears he can tell your fortune by how a gull circles the mast. Most think he's mad, but they still slip him bits of bread, just in case. And then there are the stories of ghost ships that sail in fog crewed by the damned, of sea monsters that sing like women pulling you overboard with lullabies, of the Devil's Triangle where compasses spin and men forget their names. You've laughed at them until you saw a man vanish in calm water. You've scoffed until a shipmate screamed in his sleep for 3 nights and then died without a mark. Coincidence, maybe. But when the sea rocks you and the sky goes black and the wind howls in a voice that sounds too much like a memory, you believe. Hygiene even becomes part of it. Salt behind the ears keeps away the fever. Never wash your hands with fresh water on Sunday. Don't cut your nails during a storm. Don't shave if a gull lands on the mast. These rules are unwritten, but everyone knows them. Because out here, reason doesn't matter. Only survival does. And if it takes a charm, a prayer, a quiet ritual of flicking sweat from your brow in a certain direction, you do it. Because this is the sea. And the sea does not care if you believe, but it notices when you don't. The bell rings twice, faint and metallic. That means it's time. Not for battle, not for landfall, but for the only event the entire crew actually looks forward to. Food, though food might be generous. The cook emerges from below deck, a man with arms like tree stumps and an apron that hasn't been white since the last port. He's missing 3 fingers. No one knows how. He doesn't talk about it. He stirs with a piece of driftwood, probably the cleanest thing in the kitchen. You line up with your messmates. Your stomach growls. Even it isn't sure this is a good idea. He ladles the day's meal into wooden bowls, salted pork, boiled into mush, or a stew made of yesterday's stew, which was menthe of the day before's. If you're lucky, there's a chunk of something chewy and indistinct. If you're really lucky, you don't recognize it. Alongside that hardtack, again, you break it. Weevils fall out. You sigh. Eat around them. Protein's protein. Water. You've given up on water. It tastes like old boots and rot. You sip grog instead, weak rum mixed with the same foul water, but at least it feels cleaner. You sit on the deck and eat. The crew does the same. It's quiet for a few minutes. Just chewing, grunting, scraping. This is the most peace you'll get all day. After the bowls are wiped clean with crusts or shirts, then comes the second half of the ritual. Entertainment. Pirates are not always cheerful, but when they are, it's loud. Someone pulls out a fiddle. It's missing a string. It doesn't matter. A tin whistle joins in. Then a drum made from a barrel and a belt. Songs erupt. Old sea shanties. Crude ballads. Rhymes so vulgar even the ship rats blush. You laugh. You sing. You forget the stench, the salt, the bruises. You remember you're alive. Dice come out next. Carved from bone, smoothed with spit. They rattle across the deck. Bets fly. So do curses. Fights break out sometimes. Not serious. Just tension looking for a crack to slip through. Then there's storytelling. Every pirate has a tale. The one about the Spanish galleon full of gold. The one where the ghost ship vanished at sunrise. The one about the woman who cut off a man's ear and wore it as a necklace. Someone always has a better version. You chime in, adding lies to old truths until the sky blushes pink with evening. And sometimes, if the mood is right, there's dancing. Rough. Loud, ridiculous, but joyful. Bare feet stomping on sticky boards, arms swinging wide, laughter like thunder. It's the only time you forget you haven't bathed in weeks, that your clothes itch, that you're one splinter away from infection. Because in these moments surrounded by bad stew, worse music, and men who haven't shaved in months, you feel human. Not just a worker, not just a thief, not just a cog in the floating madness, but part of something. A crew, a rhythm, a life. One you didn't choose, but one you've made your own. And tonight that's enough. The cough started last night. One of the new lads, just 17, barely enough beard to shade a cheek. Now he's lying in the dark, sweating through his shirt, muttering nonsense. You can hear it from your hammock. You try to ignore it, because once the cough starts, you already know the story. It ends overboard. There is no doctor here. No medicine either. There's a surgeon, sure, but that just means he has knives and doesn't flinch. He can cut, saw, cauterize, but he can't cure. and you're not sure he even wants to. He smells like old wine and boiled blood. His tools are wiped on his apron. His sutures are made from sail thread. The best you can hope for is that he's sober when it's your turn. Injury comes easy on this ship. A slip on a wet deck. A rope burn that goes deep. A knife in the ribs during a card game gone wrong. And worse than pain infection. A red line creeping up your leg. A swollen hand you can't close. A fever that hits like a hammer and never leaves. You've seen men die from splinters, from toothaches, from scratches that rotted in the heat and salt. There's no ointment, no antiseptic. Just grog and grit, and maybe a prayer if the crew is feeling generous. You've known men to pull their own teeth out with pliers. You've watched a toe get lopped off to stop the rot on deck with a chisel and a bottle of rum as anesthesia. The man screamed so hard he passed out, woke up laughing, then cried. That was 3 weeks ago. He hasn't walked since. You glance over now. He's asleep or unconscious. You're not sure which. Illness is constant. Scurvy is the big one. Gums turn black. Teeth fall out. Limbs swell. Wounds reopen. There's no citrus, not here, unless you stole it from a merchant ship or the captain's hoarding some. But you chew dried leather and hope it works. There's also dysentery. Diarrhea so bad it empties you like a cracked barrel. You lose water. You lose strength. Then you lose everything. You bury nothing at sea. You toss. When someone dies, they're sewn into a sailcloth, a coin in their mouth. Sometimes, if there's one to spare, then they're slid over the side. Splash. Gone. No stone. No cross. No hymn. Just water. And the smell fades after a day. You've smelled it before. That sweet, heavy rot. You smell it now, from the sick lad. He won't make it. You tell yourself it's not your problem. You sip grog. You scratch your ankle. You breathe through your mouth. But the fear is always there. Because what starts as one man's cough can spread. No matter how strong you are. No matter how loud you sing. The sea doesn't care. And this ship, this damp, filthy coffin doesn't either. You sleep beside death every night. You eat with it. Work with it. Laugh beside it. And when it's your turn, you hope someone says your name before the splash. That's all. Just a name. So the ocean remembers you. Even if no one else does. You don't hear children cry on a pirate ship, because there are none. Not on this deck. Not in this life. Not unless you count the boys who lied about their age to escape a hungrier shore. The ship is no place for innocence. It's loud, violent, foul. Packed with men who haven't bathed in weeks and don't care who hears them curse. But even so, you think of home. Whatever home means to you now. For some, it's a woman in a port city, real or imagined. Maybe she waved goodbye. Maybe she never knew you left. Maybe she's waiting. Maybe she isn't. You don't write letters. You don't get any either. You might wear a ribbon in your shirt pocket, a keepsake, a faded locket with a face worn smooth by your thumb, a braid of hair, or just a story you tell yourself on the nights when the wind dies and the sea is too still. She waits for me. even if she doesn't. Some pirates did bring women aboard, rarely. Some disguised themselves to join the crew. Tougher than most, hungrier than all. But once they were found, everything changed. Superstition, suspicion, tension like a drawn bowstring. The sea was not a place for wives, and it was never safe for them here. The brothels ashore knew the scent of pirates. So did the babies who were never claimed. Some men sent coin back. Most didn't. Not out of cruelty, but because they didn't expect to last long enough for the next letter. Family life on land was something you talked about in whispers, in drunken nostalgia, in dreams. You'd tell stories about your mother's bread, your sister's wedding, your father's old boots. You'd laugh, then you'd drink, then you'd cry, maybe, quietly. Because on this ship, family meant the men around you. It meant the one who shared his last crust with you. The one who covered for you when you missed your watch. The one who held your shoulder when you screamed through a fever. You call each other brother sometimes. It's the only word you still believe in. The only bond strong enough to matter when everything else, your name, your past, your honor, is salt in the wind. There are fights, yes, betrayals, but also loyalty that burns like tar on the deck. These are the men who'd bury you at sea, or avenge you in blood, and you'd do the same. Not because you were raised that way, but because the sea raised you now. Hygiene. No one scrubs sentiment out of their sleeves. You carry the grime of memory as much as sweat. A lullaby muttered before sleep. A prayer your mother taught you twisted now into something rough and salt-worn. A scar on your hand from your brother's dog. These are your relics. Not clean, not polished, but real. And when you're sick or dying, or leaning over the railing, wondering if the water would be kinder than another week of this, you think of them, of home, of the ones you left behind, and you smile. Because even in this filthy, floating purgatory, they still belong to you. And maybe, just maybe, you still belong to someone too. By afternoon, the sun is higher and hotter. The ship stinks more than it did this morning. The decks are slick with sweat and seawater and something else that no one has the energy to clean up. Your shirt is soaked. Your hair itches. Your patience is a frayed rope. And you're not alone. Because 70 men crammed together on a wooden box the size of a small tavern. That's not a recipe for camaraderie. That's a boiling pot. And it doesn't take much to make it overflow. Someone bumps you while coiling a rope. No apology. You stare. He stares back. You grip your knife. Just for a second. Just so he sees it. That's all it takes. Respect on a pirate ship is razor thin. You have to earn it, defend it, reassert it daily. There's no captain to mediate every squabble, no court to resolve your dispute. Just fists, blades, and a few unwritten rules, like don't steal from your mates. And don't cheat at dice unless you're better at lying. And above all, don't get caught breaking the code. Because if you do, the punishment is swift and brutal. You've seen men whipped until they couldn't walk. Others marooned for mutiny. One had his ear cut off for spying. He wears it around his neck now, as a warning. Or maybe as pride. Conflict is routine. Too much grog, too little food, too much sun, Too little space, you argue about everything. Who ate the last of the pickled onions? Who left the hatch open during rain? Who tracked fleas into the powder hold? Small things become big. Big things become deadly. Fights break out. 2 men, 5. Sometimes more. There are no timeouts. Only blood and grog and silence afterward. You've punched your friends. You've been punched by them. You've forgotten why by the next morning. But it stays. A bruise, a limp, a look. Because memory is longer at sea. Forgiveness is rare. And hygiene. It plays its own part. Someone stinks too much. Someone won't stop scratching. Someone's boots are molding, and they refuse to toss them. Whispers start. He's cursed. He's infected. He's the reason the water's gone bad. You laugh until it's about you. Then you hide your cough. You rinse your socks with seawater at night. You chew mint leaves you found drying in the galley. You pretend. Because one rumor is all it takes. And if the crew turns on you, the ocean is wide, and mercy is in short supply. So you keep your mouth shut. You do your work. You offer your grog ration to the loudest man. You laugh at the right jokes. You stay out of the way of the first mate who hasn't bathed in 2 weeks and smells like fury and fish. And you survive. That's what this all comes down to. Not honor, not wealth, not even freedom. Just making it through the day. Until the sun dips, the wind cools, and everyone starts thinking less about who owes what, and more about who's still breathing. Night on a pirate ship doesn't come gently. It falls like a hammer. 1 minute you're squinting into the horizon. The next you're blind. The lanterns are lit, just a few. The rest are saved to stretch the oil. They cast more shadows than light. You hear the ropes creak. The sails flap low. The hull moans with the tired bones of a ship that's seen more storms than ports. You hear footsteps, but you don't know whose. Everyone's face looks the same in the dark, half-shadowed, half-hollow. This is when fear comes aboard. Not the fear of war, not the fear of pain, but the quiet, crawling kind. The kind that itches in the spine. Because this ship, it's not clean. And you don't just mean the sweat or the filth. You mean the air itself. You can smell the death coming before it arrives. You've smelled it before. That too sweet rot that slips into the deck seams and never leaves. There's a man below deck tonight. He's dying. You can hear it in his breathing. Wheezing. Wet. Each breath a little further apart. No one goes near him. Not because they don't care, but because they do. And caring means risk. Illness spreads faster than wind. One cough. One touch. And half the crew starts sleeping with knives in their hands because they know what comes next. The body stiffens. The whispering begins. Is it plague? Was it cursed cargo? Is he cursed? You never know. You just know that come morning, someone will be gone. And you hope it's not you. You crawl into your hammock. You itch. Always. The lice never sleep. The rats either. You see one dash across the beam above you. You throw a boot. Miss. It laughs in its own way, scurrying off to somewhere darker. You shift. Try to settle, but it's hard. The man in the hammock next to you is snoring through a broken nose. Someone else is mumbling in a language that doesn't belong on this side of the world. And underneath it all, the creak, the groan, the low, distant slap of water against the hull, and the thought, what if tonight's the night? What if the ship gives out? What if a lantern tips? What if the wind turns? What if someone slips a knife under your hammock? What if you reach under your coat? Feel the hilt of your blade, not for comfort, just for familiarity. Like touching wood before a storm, like spitting to ward off spirits. It's just something to do. You stare up at the black. You smell mold, old rum, a whiff of something worse. You close your eyes, and you wait. Sleep will come. Eventually. Not like peace, more like exhaustion's cousin. You don't dream much anymore. Not since the last storm. Not since the last man went overboard and no one said his name. You whisper yours. Just once. So it doesn't forget you. Then you breathe. And you drift. And the ship rocks. And the rats return. But for now, you're still breathing. And that's enough. The ship sighs beneath you. Not a loud sound. Just the wood easing. Ropes creaking. The kind of noise that tells you the day is finally done. You're half asleep in your hammock now, cradled in sweat, salt, and exhaustion. The smells don't bother you as much now. You've gotten used to the rot in the barrels, the mold on the walls, the sourness of bodies stacked too close together for too long. You've gotten used to yourself, too. You haven't bathed in weeks. Your teeth ache. Your gums are angry. Your boots might never dry again. And your skin. It's covered in the history of the voyage. Salt cracks, bug bites, sail burns, a scar from a rope, a bruise you don't remember earning. Still you're here. You're not clean, but you're alive. And that's all anyone ever really asked of a pirate. Forget treasure. Forget glory. This life, the real life aboard this floating prison, wasn't about riches. It was about enduring. Enduring the stink, the sickness, the sleeplessness, the storms, the hunger, the boredom, the boiling, constant awareness that you were one bad hour from being tossed overboard and forgotten. And yet there was something else here, too. Something small, crude, human. A joke passed between swigs of grog. A hand on your shoulder when your fever broke. A song at sunset sung out of tune, but with a kind of defiance that no stink could erase. You weren't just dirt and sweat. You were part of a crew. A strange, broken, lice-ridden family. One that stank, but one that survived. And now, as the ship rocks gently beneath you, and the moon glimmers off the black water, like an old silver coin, you feel something almost like peace. Because you've made it through another day, another storm, another squabble, another spoonful of something unidentifiable. You've outlived the mold, the grog, the rats, and now you get to sleep. Tomorrow will come soon. The same sweat, the same stink, the same sea. But right now you can drift. You can let the wind carry your breath, and you can smile because you don't have to get up and scrub decks in the morning. You don't have to scratch your scalp and hope it's not fleas. You don't have to spit overboard and hope it's not the last thing you do. You live in a world of clean sheets, hot water, cold drinks, a toothbrush, soap. So tonight as you close your eyes, be grateful. You don't have to wake up on a pirate ship. Sleep well.